Yes, hey everyone. So today on the show we're going to talk about how to start collecting comic books. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Jesse and welcome back to JLSComics. As I just said, today we're going to talk about how to start collecting comic books. As of the filming of this video, the Civil War trailer just recently dropped and I'm super excited for that. It's going to be a spoiler, although not really because you've probably already seen it. But Spider-Man is in it. If you didn't catch it, let's cut away one more time and I'm going to show you it. Okay.
My name is Jeff.
So as fun as that was, it actually brings me to one of my main and most important points that I want to make today. Something got you interested or excited in comic books, whether it was the Deadpool trailer, the Civil War trailer, Daredevil, watching that on Netflix. Was it one of these games here, Arkham or, PlayStation, or maybe it was one of the movies that came out. You got Wolverine, there's Mad Max, and actually these two are going to be something I'm going to point out later, so stay tuned on these. But something got you into comics. That's going to be, it might be same for some people, but there's going to be ultimately that because of that interest, that unique interest, no real right or wrong way to collect. There's going to be exceptions to that, being dishonesty or just being disrespectful to other people in the community. So don't let anybody really ever tell you that the way you're collecting is the wrong way to collect, because you're not collecting the way they are. Collect for you, collect what you love, what you're interested in. Use whatever that interest was as a thread to start pulling and unraveling this wonderful mythology of comics and this culture we have. So I guess one of the ways to do this is to tell you about my story and how I got back into collecting comic books. Essentially, I was talking with one of my friends, and we were talking about one of the movies. I believe it was one of the Avengers movies that was coming out. And we were talking about, some of the characters. And I used to collect a long time ago when I was growing up. You may have seen that in some of my past videos. So I've been interested in this genre. And then kind of with it's the modern age of comics, but it's almost the golden age of the cinematic comic universe. So there's been a lot of talk. So we were talking about that movie, and I was looking up on some websites, researching, interested in that. And I found out at the time, and this will tell you around the time frame it was, that they were going to be killing Wolverine. And that was one of the characters. I loved X-Men when I was growing up. I loved the Chris Claremont and the Byrne stories. I loved, everything that came after that into the, I was probably early to mid 90s that, really heavily into X-Men. Wolverine was always that really awesome, badass character. So I said recently, wow, they're gonna kill off this? I wonder why and how. And I actually ended up going on one of my trips. It was, I believe, a Thanksgiving a year or so ago. And I got that 4-part miniseries. It was The Death of Wolverine, it was called. Makes sense, right? And from there, I just kind of wanted to research more and find out how it got to this point. And I got into some of the events that were happening with Marvel. And I got into researching those, and there was one event, for example, A versus X, and then that happened. So I wondered what led up to that, and then I kind of went backwards in time through the events, kind of back towards when I first dropped off of collecting, which was very late 90s, early 2000s. And that's kind of how I got into it. I pulled that one thread, that one interest of Wolverine and the death there, and just kept pulling on that thread and unraveling the stories, and I got into it, and my collecting has evolved from there. So that's something that you can expect as well. If you're starting out, you may start with one character, or you may, have picked up a game and you want to find out who that is, or you watched one of the movies and you're curious about that character some more. But that doesn't mean that's where it's always going to be for you. Expect it to evolve and grow over time. So that's a very important, thing to point out, that it will change for you. But like I was saying, the really important thing is make sure it's always for you, for what you love, your interests, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So that's really, kind of the subjectivity of what I wanted to say. In the next segment here, I'm going to do a little cutaway with Psylocke. We're going to talk about some of the beginning strategies and some of the really basic. Starting off might be a bit confusing or overwhelming. There's so many books. There's Marvel, there's DC, there's comic books, graphic novels, multiverses, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman. There's the Nolanverse, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's relaunches and reboots and rebirths and deaths and more births and female Thors and so many different Robins and old Captain Americas and crossovers that go into crossovers and just stop. Let's get to some basics first and where to start, okay? So first of all, this is a comic book, okay? Very basic. This is by Marvel. It's a Deadpool. They do have variants. This happens to be a variant, which means it's a different color than their standard, or a different cover image than their standard. Comic books range average these days anywhere from say $2.99 to $5.99. The Marvel ones are most commonly at $3.99. You can find these. I had to wait for the ambulance to go by. You can find these at your local comic shop, which I'm going to talk about in a second here. They have them at Barnes & Noble. They have them at a lot of bookstores. Maybe not Marvel, but I know that, say, Barnes & Noble, for example, has these at their stores, but it's the DC books. So you can find them around different places. Your friends might have some you can check out. If you don't want to buy these, if that price tag, it does add up. The stories go from book to book. Some of them are unique to each book, but if you don't want to invest that much all in one to collect the whole story, what we call a story arc, which is typically, say, 5 to 10 of these issues, you can actually pick up these, which are called trade paperbacks, and they collect, 5 to 6 issues all in one book. The first one, the volume 1, which is what this is, it's typically a $9.99 book, and then they go up and average around $14.99 from there. And you can find these also at your local comic shop. They come out a month or two after the story arc finishes, so you can wait a little bit, get these, get the whole story all in one. If it's a character you want to check out, it's a little bit of a cheaper option for you, and they look good on the shelf too. We got the nice spine here. A lot of stores have these. For example, I just made a video last week actually about how to collect on a budget. I would encourage you to go check that out. One of the things that I would say if you're just starting out collecting is not to invest too much money into it. So go check that out. In that video, I'm going to mention the trade paperbacks as a good option for you. For example, stores like Barnes & Noble very often have a buy two get one free sale. I don't know if that's an ongoing thing, but it is definitely happens so much that it might as well be an ongoing sale. So don't invest too much until you're really sure of what you want to collect. So you can go the trade paperback route. Your library even has books that you can take out and borrow. And then of course you have your digital option, which is 99 cents for one of the books. Instead of getting the hardcover, you get a digital copy. And then you have your local comic shop. That is a very important resource for you. Hopefully you have one nearby. They are a wealth of information. I would encourage you to go take whatever that strand of interest was, that one character or that story, and go look at the shop. Go look through some bins. Look for some cool covers that you might like, or look for the character you might like, and then ask the store employee for advice. Ask them what they think of whatever that is, that character. Let's say you wanted to collect Spider-Gwen or Deadpool. Let them know, hey, I'm interested in this character, I don't know too much, what should I do? Where should I start? Because it can be a bit overwhelming. These days there are a lot of relaunches and reboots, but they have in the past had, the volume, they call it, go for hundreds of issues. And it can be, a bit disconcerting thinking that you may have to pick up all those issues, when in fact you don't. They actually have what are called jumping on points now, which are, places where you can start off. You don't have to buy the whole thing all the way to the beginning. Recently Marvel has been doing the War Machine story starts now, or the XYZ story starts now. In the past they've done the number and then .NOW. So if you see that, that actually means it's a good jumping on point. It might be one of those the beginning of the story arc or filler right before, because the story arc just ended. They've been doing a lot of relaunches as well, so the stories, the books, the titles will start back at number 1 again. That's a good opportunity for you to start with the story. If you are watching this as a relatively new video, this summer DC is going to be doing a relaunch of all their titles, so that will be a fantastic jumping on point for you if you're interested in some of the DC titles. Some other things to look out for would be first cameos of characters as important sort of milestones, first appearances, number 1s, the deaths of characters, rebirths of characters also happen quite a bit, as you'll find out if you're just starting. You'll find out my dog, funnily enough, bumped into the tripod from my camera here. You'll find that the characters don't stay dead for very long. There's a couple exceptions to that. Would be Spider-Man's uncle and Batman's parents. They're still dead. Maybe cloned or something, or AU'd, but they're in the main universes dead. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So stick with that. I know it can be complicated and confusing in a lot of things. So try just these basics first, and then let me know, if you are watching this and you have additional input that you want to put that down in the comments below. If something worked for you, I'd be interested to hear that as well. It would be cool to hear, if you tried one of these things, you went to the shop, for example, and had a good experience with the local comic shop employee giving you some good advice. I'd love to hear about it. I put last week I had a how to buy comics on a budget. That does tie into this because that is what you should be doing when you first start out. And part of that was actually how to buy comics on eBay, which was my first video. So I'd encourage you to go check that out. I made a playlist for you. I'm going to add this to it. Next week I may do how to buy, how to organize and store your comic books, because now that you've found something you want to buy, you started building up a little bit of a collection, even if it's a couple. We can talk about how to store them properly and what have you. And I'm going to continue this. It's going to be a series that I do every Sunday afternoon, so you can expect that. But also, subscribe to the channel. I have some other things that I do as well, like haul videos. I do weekly hauls where you can see some new books that you might be interested in as well. It's also a great opportunity if you are starting off, actually, since I mentioned that. You can buy your, you can watch other people's videos here on YouTube. You can watch my videos, for example, and you can see some cool characters. I buy everything from the moderns to the silvers, Marvel, DC, Independence. So it gives you a good idea, a good range of things, and if you see something in one of those videos that you're curious about, I can tell you about that, and then maybe go check it out for yourself and see if that's something that you want to start collecting. But again, let me know down in the comments. I'll be around. I'll try to do the Sunday video and the other as well. And there you have it. This is Jesse with JLSComics, and I will see you guys soon.